is it a good idea to have my own water flosser at home? And is that better than using like old school floss, Dr. Brian?
I think it's whatever you're going to use regularly, like that's going to be the best thing for you.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I think sometimes people have a hard time from a dexterity standpoint using the floss, or they don't like it. So if they'll use the water pick, then I'd say, yeah, absolutely use it. Floss can work a little bit better, kind of getting all of the stuff out from in between the teeth. Really, when you're flossing or using a water pick, the goal is to eliminate the debris between the teeth, because that, when it's always there, that's what's going to cause the cavities.
Okay.
They both work great, but like anything else, if you're flossing but not doing it properly.
Welcome to Care Experts, a podcast dedicated to providing the inside scoop on health and self-care.
Make sure you join us each week for candid conversations with wellness and medical specialists.
Yes, real experts here to help you make the best choices for you and your loved ones.
I'm Melissa, a native Texan living in Atlanta.
And I'm Selah, a Californian through and through, and we're your co-hosts.
That's right. We're both proud moms here to have meaningful conversations with experts from all over the country who empower, inform, and inspire.
From cosmetic to dental and vet to vision, this is Care Experts.
So, Selah, do you know whether or not your teeth get older with you?
Are those the wisdom teeth? Old and wise? I don't know.
I don't have mine anymore, so apparently I'm not very wise.
I guess I don't either, so there you
all
go.
All four of mine are gone
Me
and have been gone
too.
since I was 17 years old.
Which, by the way, did you know you don't have to remove them now?
Well, have to.
Mine was so painful. Like
I didn't have any pain with my wisdom teeth. It was more like they wanted my teeth to stay in alignment.
Okay.
Because I'd already had braces and retainers and all that. My parents were like, look, we paid all this money to make sure that your teeth are nice and straight and pretty. We're not going to have to do that all over again by leaving your wisdom teeth in. But I didn't have any pain. In fact, two of mine were impacted, meaning they had to, they hadn't even come out yet. Like they were under the bone still. Like,
Oh, that sounds so painful.
It was. Yeah, well, it was to remove them, but they were fine while they were in there.
Oh, man.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder what kind of things happen when your teeth age.
Yeah.
What happens to the enamel? What happens
sure.
to your gums, your whole mouth? What is happening? There's so many things that we have to deal with aging, and now we have to deal with
and
teeth
now we have to
too.
talk about our teeth too. Yeah, and what's funny is right now my son is at the age where a lot of his friends are starting to lose teeth, their baby teeth.
My son lost his first tooth.
Oh, he did? Yeah, my son hasn't lost his first tooth yet, but because he has friends and classmates who have, he's like anticipating it, and he's like, Mommy, I think this tooth is loose, and I'll look and be like, it's not loose yet, right?
I love that.
But I would love to know about that. Like, at what age do the baby teeth start falling out? And I guess it's different for every kid, but like, there's probably a range.
Yeah.
And then when do our permanent old people teeth start
and
coming
what happens
in?
to our old people teeth?
Yeah,
As
what
we get
happens
we're, like,
to yeah,
middle-aged now.
You don't want those to get loose and fall out, right?
No, you do not. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
we can talk about all of this
Yes.
with Dr. Brian Harris and Dr. Scott Harris.
They're brothers.
I know they're going to be joining us today. So Dr. Brian Harris, also known as the Smile Creator, Confidence Builder, and Educator, is one of the nation's leading experts in adhesive dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, and creating the ultimate patient experience.
Yes, and Dr. Scott Harris is his brother. He's practiced as a cosmetic dentist for over 17 years, but his career in dentistry goes back much further.
And Dr. Brian Harris is a 2005 graduate of the University of the Pacific School of Dentistry and practices in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, and so does Dr. Harris, or the other Harris.
The other Harris,
Scott Harris.
Dr. Scott Harris.
He attended Arizona State University for his undergraduate studies and received his doctorate from the University of the Pacific Dugoni School of Dentistry in San Francisco, California.
I bet they have a lot to say about like just our teeth and our smiles, and hopefully maybe building our confidence as well when it comes to our smiles. And I'd love to hear why that is so important to them.
I know.
To build their
can't
patients'
wait.
confidence as well.
I want to learn all about it. I have so many questions for them.
So do I. Tell us, how do we form good habits now for our kids, and then how do we maintain our old people teeth
As we age.
As we age. Yeah,
absolutely.
So come on in here, Harris Brothers. We want to chat with you.
Yes.
So we're joined by the Harris Brothers today.
Yes.
We're not going to just keep calling you the Harris Brothers, just so you know, right?
It sounds like an amazing band. You're brothers in dentistry, brothers in life. It's amazing. And you're two of four brothers in dentistry? Wow. Tell us about that.
So my dad was a dentist, and he's retired now, but my older brother Eric went into dentistry, and I followed him. Scott followed the two of us. And then our youngest brother, Cameron, is a dental lab tech. So he makes like retainers, night guards, things like that.
Wow. So you guys are number 2 and 3 in the 4. Okay, gotcha. Wow, that's incredible.
Did you know you wanted to be a dentist at a young age?
I don't think so.
Really?
I think,
Why not?
Well, I think at a young age, my dad was a dentist, and we would always go to work with him in the summers, and I think we got paid $2 an hour. I think is what it was. So like I think in those younger years, it was like more mom wanting to get us out of the house.
Of course.
I understand that.
We're boy mom.
Yeah.
But I think it shifted. I think like mid 90s, like the first cosmetic revolution of like extreme makeover days, the Swan, like that's when cosmetic dentistry kind of landed on the map.
Okay.
And my dad was actually involved in that first big revolution as a cosmetic dentist. And I think that's, at least for me, speaking for myself, that's when I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like this could be a cool profession. So I think maybe like junior year in high school, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do.
What was it specifically that made you think, oh, this is kind of cool, the whole cosmetic dentistry world?
Well, so I remember like a distinct difference of him before going to work as a dentist. It sounds crazy, but I even remember like the smells when he would come home of like smelling the dental materials and so it's like I had this vision of my dad as a dentist before, and then he went to this course to learn about cosmetic dentistry and porcelain veneers, and I remember he came home like just totally changed and
Wow.
and went from this idea of like, hey, I'm not just a dentist, like I can really change people's lives. And so he started dressing different, and he started like wearing a shirt and tie, and his team then had a uniform, and he got rid of a lot of the older amalgam, like metal filling materials, and started focusing more on just like amazing customer service, patient experience. So I think that for me was like seeing him like really loving what he did and like feeling like he was really changing lives was like, oh, this is a cool thing.
Yeah, it's the changing lives part that really probably meant a lot to you guys and to him. Yep. It sounds like. Wow, that's incredible. Now, we're talking today a little about aging and teeth. And I did not know there was one more thing we had to worry about with aging.
Oh my gosh, another thing?
Yes, I know. We're already worried about wrinkles.
Yeah, so what is that? I mean, your teeth don't wrinkle. Wait,
Right.
do your teeth wrinkle?
What's happening with our teeth? Tell us everything.
Y'all are laughing, but we're serious. Like,
Yeah, I know.
We're worried.
What should we be worried about? I know.
I'll let Scott take that one.
Well, with aging, everything else seems to kind of sag downward, but with the teeth, we worry more about the gums, and we don't want things to raise up with the gums. And so as you age, you are more likely to get issues with gum disease and recession and cavities. And so those are all things that we want to consider with our patients and try to do what we can to help prevent those things.
Yeah. Wow. What are some things that we could do to prevent the gum recession? I know I have a little already. I don't think I'm that old.
You're not. You're not. No, we're not.
Yeah. What are some preventative measures?
I think some of it just naturally happens. So for example, not to like overshare, but I'll overshare. Like my own teeth, so I have porcelain veneers on my teeth.
You do?
But they're about 18 years old.
Wow. I thought your teeth looked
Oh.
fantastic.
Well, thank you.
They do not.
I'm just not trying to smile too big because I have a little bit of recession. So the gums have receded over time. So like Scott's going to be doing my smile again here in the next couple months.
Okay.
So it's like one of the things that naturally, things migrate, things move. And so, there's certain things like that are more like just maintenance of like, oh, okay, well, I probably need to redo these now just to make them look better.
Okay.
But then there's other things like, periodontal disease and gum disease that are a little bit more extreme or more severe as part of the aging process.
You've been focusing on the gums, but what about enamel? Does your tooth enamel change with age?
It does.
Oh, how?
It does. Well, if you think about the teeth, it's like the one thing in the body that doesn't like grow, it doesn't change, but it gets used more than anything else. And our body uses it to like talk, to chew, to eat. You're grinding at night. It's
To smile.
yeah, to smell. So it's always being used, and it doesn't ever regenerate. And so naturally, over time, things will just start to wear down. So, and some more than others. We'll see that wear. But yeah, they wear down, and sometimes it's just a cosmetic thing. But other times it can cause sensitivity, it can cause things to chip and break.
Yeah.
Dr. Scott, what is tooth enamel exactly?
So a tooth is made up of a couple different layers. The inner layer is called dentin. It's hard, but it's a little more porous, kind of like how bone is. The outer shell of your tooth is really, really strong. It's called enamel, and it's more of like the consistency of glass or porcelain. It's a stronger material.
Oh, wow.
And over time, that starts to wear down, like just from living life, aging, eating, all those things?
Yeah, like what's enamel erosion?
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
So enamel, yeah, just the teeth rubbing against each other, grinding, clenching. Over time, that process of those teeth rubbing against each other will wear things down. A lot of times people will wear through that outer shell and get down to that softer part of the tooth. And that's when they typically will start to have more problems with sensitivity or increased risk of cavities. And so that's what you want to look out for.
So when there is enamel decay, what kind of preventative care can you put in place so that you can maybe prevent it from getting worse?
So there are products when the breakdown is just in the outer enamel shell and it's really shallow. There are products that we utilize to strengthen the tooth structure, try to remineralize it. But once it breaks through that outer enamel shell and gets into the inner part of the tooth, that's when it really starts to spread out. And that's when you end up needing a filling.
Does fluoride help with that, with preventing that decay? I know I remember saying all the time, fluoride helps prevent tooth decay. Is that a solution?
Yeah. So
Okay.
What's happening is bacteria produce acids. Acids are pulling calcium out of the tooth, pulling mineral out of the tooth. And our goal is to reverse that and to get more mineral back into the tooth. And when fluoride soaks into the outer surface, it binds to the inner part of the tooth and it just creates kind of a hard barrier there to help strengthen and remineralize the structure of the tooth.
Both Selah and I have little kids, little boys, right? And we're just starting to regularly take them to the dentist. Are there any practices that we should be instilling in them at an early age, especially once they lose their baby teeth? Dr. Brian.
Yeah, I think, at least with my own kids, it's a tough balance because you don't want them to hate going to the dentist. You don't want them to hate brushing their teeth, but it's like, it's part of the process. You gotta get them comfortable with it. I think the biggest things though is it's more about the types of foods they're consuming, how acidic the foods are, what they're drinking in their bottles, for example, when they're super young. But then also just more about making sure that you brush on a regular basis to clean some of that stuff off that can cause the cavities.
Yeah, I heard gummy vitamins are like the worst for kids' teeth.
Oh.
Yeah, because they take them every day.
Oh, and then they stick in there. Oh.
Is
I
that
didn't think about
true?
that.
I'm having like a moment of like realization here. Like I'd never even thought about that as like being an issue, but that absolutely can be
I
an
taught
issue.
you?
What? Who's the
Who's the
expert?
expert?
No, when you think about it, because the most common place they are going to get cavities at that age is in the grooves of the teeth.
For sure.
And so
Right.
it's the sticky stuff that will do that.
Oh, no.
You know what I feel like I hear about more often now as we get older, as our teeth age and everything, is dry mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I do get dry mouth.
You get dry
I
mouth?
do, yes.
Oh, what is dry mouth and what causes it, Dr. Brian?
Dry mouth is, literally dry mouth.
mouth.
Like less saliva being produced.
Okay.
And it's caused by a number of different things. Some are like autoimmune type issues where, your body just produces less fluid. Like that can cause it. Also can be caused by just different prescription medications that are taken. Some of it's just also like just genetic. Like some people have salivary glands are much more active than others. But then sometimes you get it even just like in things like this, like you may get like I'm sitting here, you may get a little bit
Talking a
nervous. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
the mouth dries out. So if you're somebody that has a lot of like anxiety or gets nervous in situations, you may feel more of that too.
Does dry mouth contribute to tooth decay?
Yeah, I think the best way to explain it is that the saliva plays like a really big role in cleansing the teeth of some of the bacteria and the acids. So the more saliva there is, the more things are getting washed. So when you don't have that, it can be more destructive. But that's why, like, if you're a mouth breather at night or you sleep with your mouth open, you can be more prone to those types of issues too.
Because your mouth dries out. It's like your natural dishwasher, the saliva.
It's a
got
tooth
it.
washer.
A tooth washer, yeah.
There you go.
That is so. What about gum recession? I've been told I have receding gums. Is that more common as you age, or can you talk about that a little, Dr. Scott?
It is more common. You hear the term long in the tooth, and it's from that. Like as
I
people
never
age.
knew that. Okay.
So as people age, they are more likely to get recession, and it can be caused from a number of different reasons. But it can lead to sensitivity. You want to do everything that you can to prevent the gums from being inflamed, because inflammation does lead to more recession. And you want to be gentle with your brushing and flossing and things like that. If you're brushing and scrubbing too hard with heavy bristles, like real strong bristle brushes, it can also affect the gums. And so you want to clean things well, but be cautious with how you're cleaning them.
What kind, you just mentioned the bristle types. I know that when I go and buy a new toothbrush, actually that's the question. How often should I be purchasing a new
Yes.
toothbrush, Dr. Scott? And what type of toothbrush? Not necessarily a brand, but what
like
type of bristles?
electric.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many different kinds.
So there are people that ask me this quite often. What you want to look for is wear on your brush, because that's the important thing. If you look at your toothbrush and the bristles are all kind of doing this,
Yeah.
you want to get a new
time.
one.
That's my son's toothbrush.
Mine too.
After 2 times.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
Sorry about that, Dr. Scott. Yes. So.
But some people are going to have to switch out their brushes more often than others. The other thing you want to look for is you want to keep the brush clean. So if your brush is getting all nasty and it's yellow, it's time for a new brush tip.
What types of bristles? Because I've seen extra soft all the way up to maybe like medium and even hard bristles.
Yeah.
You can keep the teeth plenty clean using a soft bristle brush. And I know some people get the medium or the hard ones because they like that scrubbing feeling. But you can actually cause more damage and cause issues if you are brushing too hard with a hard bristled brush. So stick with something softer. Electric toothbrushes are great. They do all the work for you. But you can stick with something softer. It'll clean plenty good without putting excess pressure on the gums.
Okay. And the electric, are you supposed to, I know we're kind of veering off the aging, but this will help in the aging of the teeth.
Thank you.
Yes. You're not supposed to brush with the electric, right? I'm moving my hand back and forth. You're supposed to hold it on each tooth,
I
right?
think they beep, most of them, right?
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, let the electric brush do its job.
Okay.
There's a lot of technology that goes into that to help it scrub the right way. So yeah, you can kind of gently go around, but the vibration or the rotation of the electric toothbrush will do all the work for you.
Okay. All right.
I
so
think,
not working
and I
so
do think
hard.
that's important, because sometimes what happens is you get the electric brush, and then you just continue to brush like you would with a
I
manual.
know.
Yeah.
I
It's
do.
like double work. So
I do.
I will trade on and off, where I'll do one like in the morning and one at night, because sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I start brushing with it, and you don't want to overwork the gum. So just let it do its thing, slowly work it around, just be
I
patient.
get better with that.
I feel like I always remember, the water flosser whenever I go to the dentist, because y'all have the suction. I mean, you have all the tools, but you have the suction and the water flosser. Is it a good idea to have my own water flosser at
great
home? And is that better than using like old school floss, Dr. Brian?
I think it's whatever you're going to use regularly, like that's going to be the best thing for you. And what I mean by that is, I think sometimes people have a hard time from a dexterity standpoint using the floss, or they don't like it. So if they'll use the water pick, then I'd say, yeah, absolutely use it. The floss can work a little bit better, kind of getting all of the stuff out from in between the teeth. Really, when you're flossing or using a water pick, the goal is to eliminate the debris between the teeth, because that when it's always there, that's what's going to cause the cavities.
Okay.
They both work great, but like anything else, if you're flossing but not doing it properly,
Right.
it's not going to work.
Not gonna be effective.
Yeah.
When we're talking about aging teeth, are there any kinds of medical conditions and medications that impact oral health in seniors?
Yeah, 100%. I think you hear a lot when people go through chemotherapy, for example, going back to the question of dry mouth. Those drugs will dry out the mouth, and so they're a lot more likely to get cavities like down by the gum line where the enamel's weaker. And then just a lot of medications in general, you'd be surprised. And it's not even just like back in the day, it was more like antidepressants would do that, or like now it's like, I mean, just regular vitamins that may have too much B12 that boost your metabolism, that dry out the mouth. So I think it's something you should always be just aware of, and just hydrate on a regular basis.
Is that the solution? Just hydrate?
Yeah, hydrate.
Right.
There are some topical things that you can put on the teeth or in the mouth that will kind of like lubricate the mouth more, so you don't feel like things are getting drier. But I mean, the best thing is just hydrate as much as you can.
As our teeth continue to age, I feel like it's become kind of commonplace, or at least it was in previous years, that you would see older adults with dentures, right? Are there, what other options in addition to dentures are there for older people or people who have aged teeth when they have missing teeth?
I would say maybe I'll address maybe kind of the all-on-4 type process. I think that's like really popular right now. And it's, before it was just like you lose your teeth and then it was like a partial or a denture.
Exactly.
And something that comes in and out.
Yeah.
Now what happens with the introduction of implants is that you can have implants put inside the bone and teeth actually screwed into that.
Wow.
And so you can still have normal function. You have to clean them a little bit differently. But I would say that's probably the most prominent thing right now happening as far as teeth replacement, like replacing all the teeth, because they don't come in and out. They are easier to eat and chew with.
Yeah, of course.
And that's really, I mean, that's kind of like the gold standard for people that are missing teeth. If it works within their budget to get implants and to have teeth that they don't have to take out at night, it's a great solution.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them right now.
That's
so I know all
right.
about that. Yeah.
Implants,
I
right?
have implants. Yeah. And they just screwed the teeth in. They're back there. They're looking at my teeth right now. For people who are not watching and just listening, they're looking like, which ones are they? They
look
can
the
tell.
same. Oh, you
Oh,
can?
that's kind.
I have one too, so I get
But you like it so much more, right? Like,
Oh
it's
my
much
gosh.
easier to-
Well, because you know what I had for a while in between, I mean, during the healing process, I had a flipper for the one that was closer to the front, because I mean, look what I do.
Yeah.
I have people
For a
see my
living.
mouth. Yeah, for a
Exactly.
living. People
Yeah.
see my mouth all the time, and I like to smile
Yes.
and not have missing holes in there, right?
course.
But the flipper was just a temporary solution, but it was so annoying to take it out, and I would have to clean that the
and
same
you
way I
have to
clean
take
my
it
teeth.
out every time you eat?
Yes. Well, you can. My dentist said you could eat with it in, but I didn't like the way that felt. I also felt like it gave me a lisp when I spoke, and I didn't want to have a lisp. So anyway, yeah, taking it, and you certainly can't. You can't sleep with it in because there's risk of choking.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Of course.
I
That
know.
makes sense.
I know.
Wow, but the implants, this sounds like such a great solution, especially as we age, because how common is it for people to lose their tooth altogether as they age?
I think it's pretty common. I mean, we see it a lot, you know, and it's not as common to see people lose all their teeth nowadays, just because dentistry's advanced a lot. But it's also still something we see quite a bit. But yeah, 1 or 2 implants, that's super
Very common.
Yeah.
What if they don't? I have someone very close to me that is missing a tooth. He's
Mm.
older, and he refuses to
Do anything about
do
it?
anything about it. Is that super? I've told him, I'm like, I think that's super dangerous with bacteria getting. Is it? Am I afraid for nothing? Or
So bacteria, I'm not as much concerned about bacteria because
Okay.
things will heal up and things will get better with the bone and gum. But what I worry about more is as teeth are lost, it puts pressure on the teeth in front of that or the teeth around it. And so if people start to lose multiple teeth over time, then things can start to break down on the front teeth faster. And we see that quite often. Yeah. So if you can do an implant, if you
him.
could do something to restore the bite pressure and kind of spread things out, make things more even with the bite, it does help to preserve things long term.
Doesn't bother some people.
it doesn't bother
Yeah,
him.
Some
He
people,
doesn't care.
they're not
He'd
bothered
rather
by
avoid
it.
the dentist, like we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. With the,
Lot of
Well,
friends.
but let's address that, because
Sure.
I think that's an important point to this. Is sometimes a question I often will ask is like, have you missed it? Like, does it bother you? And sometimes if it's a back molar, it's not very visible, and you don't miss it, and it doesn't feel like things are changing, like, that's okay. You know, because I think timing is really important when it comes to talking about this stuff, because sometimes you'll be in a position where you lose a tooth and it may not be the right timing to like move forward and do something about it right now. And so certain teeth, they'll be fine for a while. Like you could go several years without having to replace something.
okay.
But then you'll usually start to see signs of like when it is necessary. You know, like if it's common where if it's a back tooth and something's not there, then the bottom one will start to drift down, and then it can cause like a bigger issue. So I think and Scott and I kind of practice the same way. Like we try to help our patients understand that, like, you know, timing is a big part of it, and do it when you're ready.
Yeah.
Don't feel pressured or scared into making a big financial decision like that. Just do it when the time.
Well, it can be costly. That's something. And you guys accept the CareCredit credit card?
We do. And I mean, that's something our patients use often for that same type of reason, because they may come in and timing could be bad financially, but it allows them to split up over time and make payments. And
Especially if they need to do it right away.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So because I've been to the dentist so many times and had so much work done, I know that often I have to get impressions taken. What is that process of taking impressions of someone's tooth? What does that look like? Walk me through it.
yeah, so there's technology's advanced a lot, so that we have a few different options in dentistry now where you can take what's called a digital impression, where that's just a digital scan, a 3D scan. So you don't have to
They
have,
do that now.
Not the cement
It's
thing.
nice.
I remember that,
There's like gummy, gooey stuff, which I'm actually allergic to.
no.
I know. I'm like the only person who's allergic. I get these little bumps on my lips when they do that. Yeah, but they don't do that anymore. Go ahead,
That's
doctor.
amazing.
Yeah, Dr.
Oh,
Brian.
so you can scan it, and then
Yeah.
it takes all that out of it. There's still certain circumstances where some of the what we call polyvinyl, but some of the rubber materials used can capture impressions better, like under the gums, where digitally scanning, sometimes you can't get that far underneath. But I would say most scenarios nowadays we can digitally scan things, but then with like certain cosmetic procedures, certain procedures we'll still do a quick mold, like a traditional mold.
Oh, you know what I've always said? Y'all, and when I say y'all, I'm talking about dentists, should do a game show where you guess what people are saying with something in their mouth. Because
Okay.
dentists and dental hygienists and assistants are exceptional, because you can be like, and they're like, oh, you went to see a movie last night and you really enjoyed it, and they're like, and you can
That
have
is
an
a
entire
great
conversation.
idea.
Is that a skill that you develop over
sure.
time, or do they teach you that in dental school?
I think
so
you
true.
for sure develop it over time, but it's also one of my pet peeves, like talking. Like I don't talk to my patients while I'm working on them, or my
But
team.
the hygienists always
They
do.
do the
They
whole
do
time.
ask you
I know.
questions.
No.
But I'm just like, my big rule is like, hey, if they're in a vulnerable position and they can't talk back, and you can't, like, let's not ask them questions about
Thank
their summer
you.
plans.
Exactly.
And,
I'm gonna start flying to Arizona.
I know. Exactly.
So I don't have to talk.
So I don't have to talk. But I think that's a brilliant idea, and you
Thank
guys should do
you.
that on your social media.
TM.
Melissa
just
Knowles.
came up with that. Yeah.
Tag Melissa.
Okay,
So good.
we have our favorite segment coming up. This is
Sure.
called Ask the Expert. This is where people who watch and listen to our show, Care Experts, submit questions anonymously, and perhaps they don't have the access on their own, but now we're giving it to them. You are our expert. We will ask you their questions, and you just answer them with your expert opinions.
Yes.
Here's the first one. What are some early signs of tooth decay or gum disease to watch out for as we age? Dr. Scott.
So with cavities, we'll start there with decay. You want to look for any dark spots that start on the tooth. Not every dark spot is a cavity, but when they do start and they're on the outer surface, it's visible. You can usually see something, especially like right along the gum line or on the grooves of the tooth. If you see a dark spot with like shadowing underneath it, that's not a good sign. You want to get it taken care of as soon as possible. Other cavities are not as visible, and that's why we will take x-rays to try to catch those things early. When it comes to gum issues, you want to look for inflammation, red puffiness of the gums, and you want to look for recession. If the gums are noticeably dropping down over time, you want to make sure that you get it looked at by a dentist.
Okay. This next person asks, is it ever too late to start taking better care of your teeth? How can one restore something that has been neglected for years? It's a great question.
I don't think it's ever too late. I think the key is just like doing the best you can with what you have. I think what happens sometimes though is it can be overwhelming when you know things are starting to like not be okay, and you know there's some issues. You put it off because it's embarrassing. It's a vulnerable position to be in, and it's a little bit scary not knowing like how much is it going to cost when I go in and they find all this stuff out.
For sure.
But I think it's just important to find somebody that you can go in and trust. And as a patient, you should feel empowered to say like, hey, here's where I'm at financially. Here's what's most important to me. And like, this is what I'd like to focus on, and have the provider on the other end, like be open to that and not feel like it's just like their way or the highway, you know? So,
Right.
so I think that's an important place to start, is finding somebody you trust. But then also people don't realize like cavities in the mouth can, you know, they're caused by certain bacteria and the certain environment in the mouth. So one cavity back here left for a long time and not addressed can start to cause issues in other areas. So sometimes it's just important to just stop the madness, like get the bad ones out, start fresh again, and then just move forward with what you have that is healthy.
Untreated cavities and any other types of issues like with tooth decay over time, what other kind of health concerns can that lead to?
Yeah, I would say the biggest ones, aside from the general ideas of like being painful or being something that's cosmetically visible, once it gets into the bloodstream, then all the studies out now with the correlation of heart disease and periodontal disease, or it gets into the bloodstream and now it becomes like an infection that can then spread to other parts of the body. It is a big deal. And we talked earlier about the mouth being like so overused in the body. Like think about it. It's like the portal to the entire body.
Yeah.
For sure.
So if the bacteria is there, if things aren't healthy there, now you're eating, you're drinking, like it's passing through all of that and coming into the body. So it's just important. Just do the best you can to get things as healthy as they can be.
I don't know if you've ever had a toothache before, that they can be debilitating. So aside from the health concerns, just functionally, like living your life, when you have a lot of problems with your teeth, it can be debilitating and cause, issues mentally as well. So.
Yeah.
Definitely. This person says, how can I make wearing dentures more comfortable and prevent sore spots or slippage? Dr. Scott?
So there are different products out there that help with dentures. Lower dentures are going to be a lot more difficult to keep in place. You've got your tongue in cheek, kind of sliding it around like a hockey puck. And so that's where if it doesn't work in your budget to do implants to help hold that in place, there are products, they're pastes and little pads that you can put in the denture that basically act as like a glue to kind of help secure it a little bit better on the gums.
Okay. Are dental implants a good option for older adults, and how long do they typically last?
So implants are a great solution. I've had patients in their 80s, 90s that have gotten implants, and they're a great solution for replacing missing teeth when it's an option. And we work with the oral surgeon to determine whether the bone's good enough. But when it's an option, they're a great solution for missing teeth. You're not relying on the teeth around it to help support it. You're taking a one-tooth problem and giving it a one-tooth solution. So they do well.
How long do they last?
So implants, once they heal in the bone and we're ready to move forward and put a tooth on them, they're one of the most predictable things you do in dentistry. They last a really long time. You can't get cavities on implants, but you can still get gum disease. So you do have to be careful with that. But once it's healed in the bone, they're going to last a really long time.
This person says, what should I do if I haven't been to the dentist in years and am afraid of what they might find? Dr.
I'm
Brian.
sure that's common.
I would just encourage that person to just start somewhere. And again, I think it's just really important, like find the right provider that you feel like you can trust. There's so many amazing dentists out there, like all over. And the best way to find them is just like ask friends, ask around, ask people that have had good experiences, and then just start somewhere. But also feel empowered to just be a part of that decision-making process. Don't go into it being embarrassed. I think we hear that a lot. People say like, I'm so embarrassed. Like for us, I don't know that I've ever looked at a scenario and been like, how could they let it get to this point?
Shame,
You
know,
shame.
because it's
Ringing
just,
that bell like
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. Shame, shame. No,
Exactly.
never do that.
No.
it's like when it's what you do, like, and I think most dentists are this way. They see it more as an opportunity of like, okay, I know I have a solution that I can give them.
Yeah.
Like, let's figure out what's gonna work. It never comes from a place of like, oh, how could you? Because I mean, we see it all day, every day,
Yeah.
and we see some pretty extreme circumstances. I think most dentists like to be seen as like somebody who come in and help, not as somebody who's going to judge.
Yeah, it's not judgment. It's help me help you.
No,
Help me help you.
exactly.
And you guys have been so helpful today.
Yes.
The
Thank you.
Harris brothers.
Thank you
They're like
so
the
much.
property brothers of teeth,
That's right.
right?
I
When you
love
think
it.
about it, right?
It's so true.
You can have that one. The first one's
I was
free.
going to say,
Yeah.
I'm here all week.
Think
I'm here all week. Tip
we're-
your waitresses. Try the fish.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
We
you,
really
guys.
appreciate
You're
it.
great.
Educating all of us, right?
Yes.
Making it not so scary.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us and being part of our growing community.
Stay tuned for new Care Expert episodes every Wednesday. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app and YouTube.
The information, opinions, and recommendations expressed in the episode are for informational purposes only. Information has been obtained from sources generally believed to be reliable. However, because with the possibility of human or mechanical error by our sources or any other, Synchrony and any of its affiliates, including CareCredit, collectively Synchrony, does not provide any warranty as to the accuracy, adequacy, or completeness of any information for its intended purpose or any results obtained from the use of such information. All statements and opinions are the sole opinions of the doctor being interviewed. The data presented in the episode was current as of publication. Please consult with your individual advisors with respect to any information presented. All product, service, and company names are the trademarks of their original owners. The use of any trade name or trademark is for identification and reference only, and does not imply any endorsement, sponsorship, or affiliation by or with the trademark holder of their brand.